Hey everybody, it's Curse, and today I'm going to bless you with a two-part video combo. In this current video, we will cover how to craft the unique helmet Fractured Crown. And in the following video, I'll craft 30 Fractured Crowns to see if I can get an upgrade to my existing one. Fractured Crown is a really cool build enabling unique for the Sorcerer class, and it gives you a huge DPS boost of up to 130% crit multi for spells. But more importantly, it completely changes your defensive mechanic. You can no longer have any ward. Instead, Fractured Crown has an affix of 20 to 50% damage is now dealt to mana. And when damage is dealt to mana, it is reduced by 80%. So let's say that you have 50% of damage is dealt to mana. For every 10 points of damage that you take, you lose 5 HP and 1 mana. It's a really efficient way to tank up, provided that you have a reliable way to sustain your mana. So I'll show you how to craft the item, as well as how to adjust your loot filter so that you can make it easier to craft more crowns. Alright, let's jump into the guide. Irashaimase! Alright, so if you look at the last Epoch Tools website, you can see that there are 3 conditions to creating a Fractured Crown from a Gilded Crown. The first one is having the mana prefix, the second one is having the damage dealt to mana before health prefix, and the third one is to have 21 or more total affix tiers. You also have to have at least 1 forging potential on your Gilded Crown before you can use Rune of Ascendance on it. And that's somewhat straightforward, but there are a bunch of nuances that we can highlight in the different ways with which we can achieve those 3 conditions. So the first one is fairly obvious. Just having an Exalted item with a tier 6 affix and also having the 2 prefixes mentioned right there. So you can see we have 21 sum, mana's there, damage dealt to mana is there. Super straightforward. This is the most obvious way. Another way is to have the right prefixes of mana and damage dealt to mana, but also have a sealed affix of some sort. As long as all 5 of these affixes sum up to 21 or more, you've satisfied the conditions, so you're good to go. But you also have to keep in mind that you can seal one of those 2 prerequisite prefixes as well. Either damage dealt to mana before health can be sealed, or mana can be sealed. And as long as you have that sum of 21, you can create a Fractured Crown from this. And because sealing affixes satisfies these conditions, you can also achieve this with a rare item as well. However, I find that the forging potential is simply not enough for rare items. You need to get really, really lucky to be able to get 21 plus total affix tiers on a rare item and having sealed some of them. So yeah, I would not waste my materials on rare items, honestly. So next, let's talk about some crafting tips. You'll frequently have a situation where you have an Exalted item with one of the prefix slots taken up with garbage that is not relevant to us, and 1 open prefix slot. Whenever that is the case, I recommend always to just pop 1 tier of damage dealt to mana before health, and then sealing that. As long as you have 4 affixes on an Exalted item, sealing a tier 1 affix is 100% chance guaranteed. And the reason I recommend this is because damage dealt to mana is a much more rare prefix. And so you're going to run out of damage dealt to mana shards if you don't seal it and you just go with sealing mana and then trying to get your damage dealt to mana before health up to tier 5. You're going to run out. So you'll notice a lot of the Gilded Crowns that I have a sealed damage dealt to mana before health. Tip number 2 is, as you're crafting up to 21 tiers, leave crafting from tier 4 to tier 5 until the very end. The reason for that is if you have a tier 4 affix and you're crafting up, let's say, a tier 1 up to tier 2, if you happen to get a critical success, sometimes that upgrades one of your other affixes. And so that will upgrade the tier 4 to tier 5 for free. And generally speaking, upgrading from tier 4 to tier 5 requires by far the most forging potential, as you can see. So always leave your tier 4 to tier 5 upgrades for the very end, in case you didn't get any critical successes. Tip number 3, if you get an Exalted Gilded Crown that have 2 prefixes, and neither of them are the ones that we require, you can still convert that into a Fractured Crown. You just have to get lucky. What you want to do is utilize the rune of removal. So you have a 1 in 2 chance to remove one of the prefixes that are blocking you from converting this into a fractured crown. Obviously, this is quite risky. So if you like the Gilded Crown and its Exalted bonuses are quite strong, don't do this. You might just waste them accidentally. Another tip is, as you're trying to convert your Gilded Crown into what is suitable for Rune of Ascendance into a Fractured Crown, remember that sealing a tier 1 affix is always guaranteed. However, sealing a tier 2, tier 3, or tier 4 affix is a progressively lower chance as it goes up. So you might be wasting your Glyphs of Despair if you're trying to seal a tier 3 affix. I would only do it if I don't really have the other option available. Another tip, if you have the prefixes that you need, let's say mana and damage dealt to mana before health, and if you have an open suffix, we don't care about the type of suffixes, we only care about getting to 21 plus total affix tiers. So what you can do to preserve forging potential is utilize the Rune of Discovery. What that does is it fills all of your empty affix slots with a random affix. And so if it's a suffix, we don't care about what it is, we just want one there and we want it to get as high tier as possible. And the reason why we want to use Rune of Discovery in this case is because it costs 0 forging potential. So you're not rolling the dice with your Glyph of Hope, you're guaranteed to get a suffix for free. And then you can work on upgrading it up to get your 21 total. Another tip is, if you run out of forging potential and you can't use your Rune of Ascendance at that point, then you might as well use Rune of Shattering to just get back some of your damage dealt to mana before health shards, because those are quite rare. You can see I only have 16 and I used to have quite a few before I started upgrading these Gilded Crowns. So we covered the crafting strategies and tips. Now let's look at the item itself. It has such wide ranges: 70 to 130% spell crit multi, 15 to 30% mana, 20 to 50% damage dealt to mana before health, and even the crit chance on the base item type varies quite a bit. You're going to have to craft quite a few of these before you get the good one that you're looking for. So in order to do that, we need to farm quite a few Gilded Crowns with all of the conditions necessary to get a Fractured Crown. You can see I have 30 of them, and the optimal way to farm them, in my opinion, is to run Temporal Sanctum. And I have the perfect Exalted farming guide for that purpose, so check it out. I'll link it at the end of the video, and if you run that, you'll be able to get a bunch of Fractured Crowns in no time. And now let's talk about the loot filter. If you click Escape, go to Settings, and go into your loot filters. Shift F accomplishes the same thing, by the way. You can see that I have 3 filters that are helping me get more Gilded Crowns. The first one is to recolor Gilded Crowns with the mana prefix. You can see that I've identified item type helmet, subtypes Gilded Crown, and having the affix mana. Next, I have another pretty much the same kind with damage dealt to mana before health, again Gilded Crown, and again the same color just to help me identify when that kind of item drops. And finally, another really useful one is to show any item that has the damage dealt to mana before health affix. Let's say that there's a magical blue chest armor with a tier 5 damage dealt to mana before health. You can then apply the Rune of Removal to it, and that's going to give you 5 shards of damage dealt to mana before health. So that's a really good way to acquire more of these shards. Make sure you have these 3 loot filters. You can even merge these 2 at the top into one. And the higher they are, that means that they will overrule those below them. They'll take priority. You want to make sure they're at the top. And that is it for the Fractured Crown crafting guide. Now, if you're curious on what you can get if you craft 30 of these, what the average Fractured Crown was going to look like, I'll link that video at the end of this one, and let's have some fun with it. What I really want is a 2 LP Fractured Crown with a good roll, so that I can throw more mana into it. And I keep dreaming of that one, but chances are low. Let's see what I get with these 30. ごちそうさまでした。